We often spend most of our waking hours focused and at least there or thinking about work in some way. When you remove that, you end up having these voids in time that you're like, what do I do? Why am I here? What's my purpose in life? If no one's teaching you how to get out of first gear in AI, you're gonna think it sucks. You're gonna go back to just manually doing things and doing your own emails and managing your own messages. If you go to the gym for 1 hour a day for 20 days in a row, you're probably gonna see results. But if you go to the gym for 10 hours today and 10 hours tomorrow, you're probably not going to get the same results. So intensity doesn't always beat consistency.
Lift off.
Welcome back to Weekly Update number 60, guys. We are loading up the podcast board. I've been interviewing some amazing people the last few weeks, and there's so many takeaways. I can't wait for you guys to listen to some of these episodes. As you guys know, I'm getting ready to take a break and kind of step back from things for at least a few months from K&D and not too much from the podcast or the Disruptors, but I wanted to just share with you guys kind of what's been going on in a few areas of my life and what's going on in K&D, what's going on in the Disruptors. We've got a lot of updates this week. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about some guests. We've had guests like David Meltzer, who is just an incredible mind to interview. We had Ryan Hawk on here, who runs a learning leadership show. He's interviewed people like Tony Robbins, Jim Collins, Jocko Willink, so many amazing, great people. And the list goes on and on and on. Shout out Drew for really pulling in some amazing guests and helping us build up not just our audience, but also the guest list from outside the trades industry. We also continue to have amazing leaders inside the trades industry, like Ellen Rohr and Al Levy that went on this week. I just interviewed Robert Underwood from AAA Landscaping, 700 employees in Phoenix, Arizona. Just an incredible story going from a $1,000 loan in the early 70s to where they're at today, over 50 years later. And one thing's really interesting I'm seeing in the landscape industry is there's a lot of amazing businesses out there that are both being ran by founders who started the businesses and second, third, or fourth generation CEOs. And Nathan Dirksen is coming up. He is with 7Ds, also a very large enterprise company up in the Northwest. And he has amazing takeaways. He started as a gardener, basically, and worked his way all the way up to CEO. Very similar to Josh McMallin's story, which we had on a couple weeks ago. So just a lot of ties in and a lot of amazing things coming up in the Trade Stock podcast. So I just want to thank you guys, first and foremost for being here with us, for going on this journey. We're building momentum. I love watching the statistics every week, continue to ratchet up. Look, if you guys know someone that might be interested or enjoy this show, just send them a link. If you aren't subscribed or if you haven't reviewed the show, do us a favor. Show us how many stars that we've earned from you. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to the topics today. We're going to talk about three main things. We're going to talk about the AI S-curve that I believe we're at the very beginning of. We're going to talk about the Disruptors pivot this week that we made to go contractor only. We're going to talk a little bit about how K&D is going. I'm coming up on 30 days. This is actually exactly 4 weeks since I stepped away from K&D. And we've got an open position at K&D. We've got some events coming up this fall in November. And of course, we're going to talk about Cress, who is our partner on the podcast. Let's do that right now. So I went out yesterday in the morning and I looked out at the lawn in my backyard, and there's this beautiful diamond striped, perfectly cut lawn. And I was drinking my coffee just like, man, I love the fact that my lawn's cut perfect every single night. And I was thinking, man, I think there's a lot of residential clients in the world, especially higher end, that would also love to see their lawn perfectly mowed and striped every single day. That's what the Leave On Site Cress robots can do. There's tons of different options and sizes depending on your needs. There's some new ones coming out that can cut up to 11 acres a day. So you could do some really amazing things with these mowers. If you guys have not experienced or experimented with the Cress Leave On Site robotic mowers that literally plug in and just mow that property every single day or every other day, you owe it to yourself to at least buy one for your house or a client's house and just experiment it. So go and check out jwhitegroup.com/Cress and we'll get you hooked up with a special offer over there. All right, guys. So let's talk about the AI S-curve that is currently, I believe, that is currently hitting us right now. So this is what's happening, right? When Claude came out and everybody's vibe coding apps and they're spending hours and hours building these things. And then somewhere in the last 2 or 3 months, I feel like we've kind of hit a ceiling on that where people are like, well, I built really cool things, but I'm not really using those things other than maybe that first time. And it was like really, really cool to build all this stuff. And you vibe coded this app and that app. And we did a ton of this at KAD and we still are. But I do feel like that newness is starting to wear off with Claude and people are starting to kind of not use it as much. I bet you've used AI less for those little fun projects than you were using it when you first started. And if you just now are starting with it, maybe you're in that zone right now. But the majority of people who are using AI is they're kind of feeling a bit of a ceiling. They're feeling like it was really exciting. And now we're realizing that the apps, the vibe coded artifacts aren't adding a ton of value. And I can see this based on the statistics and the numbers that I see with people I share artifacts with. When I was sharing artifacts 3-4 months ago, I was getting hundreds of uses on those artifacts. And now that activity has dropped off. One thing that I've noticed is continuing to pick up is the skills that people are utilizing and people are installing. And I just posted today, if you guys want to check it out on Instagram and LinkedIn, a new skill that's called the CEO coach. I basically went and trained a model on Bill Campbell in the book, The $1 Trillion Coach. Bill Campbell, famous Silicon Valley coach, Steve Jobs, Sergey Brin, many, many other founders. That's why they call him the $1 Trillion Coach. He was a legend and was an amazing and brutal coach. So I wanted that coach built in to Claude and be able to push me on certain things. So that's out there. If you guys want to download that skill, download that persona I created, please do so. But here's what's happening. Most people are now saying we are reaching the top of the S-curve. What's an S-curve? I'll use it. The best example is aviation. So in the early 1900s, late 1800s, people said flying was just impossible. It wasn't going to happen. And then the Wright brothers were able to take flight, and that was a monumental day. When that happened, the world changed. That story, I should do a weekly update on that because that story is so fascinating to me. It's really amazing. Shortly thereafter, literally within 20 to 30 years, we had jet airliners flying across the country, going from, hundreds of thousands of years of humans. And then all of a sudden we figured out how to fly once. And then within 20 to 30 years, we were having jet airliners flying around the country. But honestly, since like the 1960s, we kind of peaked. Efficiency hasn't really improved on airliners. My plane from 1978, my Grumman Tiger I sold, compared to the new plane I'm buying, which is a 2016, there's some pretty substantial changes. But overall, it's pretty much the same plane. My new one's a little safer. It goes a little faster. It's got a little more technology, but it's kind of the same plane. So that is the S-curve. At the very beginning of new technologies, we have this hyper escalation and this explosion of ideas and this implementation and development of revolutionary technology. And then we kind of hit this ceiling at some point, and we actually start to potentially even regress. And then we settle into the future, which is a slow and steady improvement of like 1 or 2% a year. So a lot of people say we are already hitting that in AI. Like the newness is wearing off. People aren't using it as much. And maybe it wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be. Maybe it's not going to take over the world and take over all these jobs as we thought it was going to be. That is one school of thought. There's another school of thought of people that think this is the most revolutionary thing ever. And it is going to take all the jobs and we need to protect it. We need to slow it down. As of today, like right now, Sam Altman and Dario from Anthropic and many others have signed a joint letter begging the government to come in and regulate and slow down progression of AI in the United States. And a lot of that is because what they say is it's very dangerous and it's doing things that we never thought possible. Sam Altman even said that it went out and hacked other websites and kind of broke out of its sandbox, its parameters, to go get answers to the tests that it was taking. Now, pretty scary when you hear a CEO of a leading frontier AI lab say that they can't control their models. But you have to ask yourself, how much of this is protecting their duopoly? The two people, AI, OpenAI and Claude or Anthropic, obviously are in the lead, obviously have the most market share in terms of revenue dollars. How much of this is protecting the moat that they've created versus how much of this is actually because they believe AI is as dangerous as they think it is? Now, we should all be nervous and worried about this. And what I want you guys not to do is I don't want you to just fall into that camp that, AI is not going to help us and it's really not going to move the trades forward. And it's probably not worth putting much time into because, it's going to get easier and at some point we'll use it, but not today. I also want to caution you guys of going fully to the negative of like AI is taking over the world, our life's over, I don't want to have kids, I don't want to do anything because AI is going to change our world. And whatever the future is going to be, it's going to be. And we have some hopefully level of control of that. But at the end of the day, you got to live somewhere in the middle, right? You got to live in this idea of positivity and this idea that the future is going to bring better opportunities to humanity. And AI is going to help us. So we're going to guide the AI journey as much as possible. Now, depending on where you fall in that spectrum, I think AI can be a very useful tool for you today, but only if used in the right ways. And this is really important for everybody here. Most people are experimenting and testing out AI in the wrong ways. Let me give you an analogy. If someone gave you a car to drive and no one taught you how to drive that car and it was a stick shift and you didn't know that there was multiple gears, okay? And so the car came pre-installed in first gear and you got a clutch and a brake pedal and a gas, but you don't even know what that stick down to the right does because no one told you there's multiple gears. So you're driving this brand new car around in first gear. It could be it could be a Ferrari. And you get back and you're like, nice car, but it kind of sucks. Like it doesn't go really fast. Like it revs out at 10 or 15 miles an hour. I can't even get to 20 miles an hour. I can go faster in my Honda Civic. Like, I don't know about this new car, guys. You guys can keep your car. And then a professional driver gets in and says, hey, sit in the passenger seat. Let me show you something. And that professional driver takes you around town, shifting through all 6 gears, getting on the highway, going 140, 150 miles an hour in a closed environment, whatever. And you go, holy shit. I didn't know this car had multiple gears. I thought it's first gear. That's what it came in. They laugh. They go, no, you can like literally shift gears. This is how easy it is. If no one's teaching you how to get out of first gear in AI, you're going to think it sucks. You're going to go back to just manually doing things and doing your own emails and managing your own messages and reviewing all the Slack messages coming in and overseeing all your data and doing your end of month manually because you're stuck in first gear in your AI and you think it only goes 15 to 20 miles an hour. And when it does get up to the top speed of 15 or 20 miles an hour, it is revving out so much that you're worried about breaking it. And it's not a very pleasant experience for you or the AI. In fact, the AI is like, dude, why don't you just shift into second gear? In this analogy, second gear is automated workflows. Third gear is agents. Fourth gear is automated agents overseeing other automated agents. Fifth, you get the point. Okay. So don't give up on AI. And if you're stuck in first gear, come into the Disruptors. Let's chat, guys. Next week on Monday, next week, August 10th on Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are doing our AI Roundtable, a contractor-only AI Roundtable where we will be talking all about AI. If you guys want to learn about it, you want to get into second, third, fourth, fifth gear, come to the AI Roundtable where we will be going deep on this subject. Okay, talking about Disruptors. We decided this week, and sincerely thank you everybody. We only had about 105 members. We reduced that to about 95 members because we kindly asked non-contractor members to leave the group. Now, these non-contractor members were amazing. They're close friends of mine. They provided a ton of value, and they were very respectful. They were never selling. They were never doing anything. And most of these guys actually at some point were contractors, but now they do marketing or they sell software or they do other services. And we decided, we want the Disruptors to be a contractor-friendly and contractor-only environment. We want you to be able to go in there and bitch about your favorite or not favorite manufacturer or vendor or software company. We want you to ask the question of, hey, I'm thinking about changing to this tool. Has anyone used it? What do you think? And with that contractor-only environment, we can be very open, very vulnerable, not just in the community chats and in the classroom, but also on the live calls every week. For example, AI call on Monday, we need to be able to talk about how we're using AI, even if it's going against certain terms and conditions with our software company. And we don't want to worry about that software company hearing about it and getting upset that we're not following the T's and C's to the point. Now, I'm not saying you should violate T's and C's. You should not do that. But if someone is doing something super cool and wants to share it and super innovative, then all for it. Share your thing. I don't care. We all are humans. We're all adults here. We can make our own decisions, but let's share information freely. And that's what's really important to us on that side of the Disruptors. And I find that this does not exist anywhere in the landscape industry or really anywhere in the trades industry. One reason is most communities are actually built and guided by service companies or vendors because it helps them. And I think those communities should exist. They're very important and they add a lot of value. But if you are name your software company and you have a community built around that software company, obviously it's not going to be contractor only because you're going to have that whole software company's employees and sales team and members that are in that community. And then if you are in a peer group, oftentimes they have sponsors. They make a lot of money off sponsors. And now those sponsors are also in the group, in the chat, in the discussions, which are great. I think there's value there too. So I don't think there's any right or wrong way to do this. This is just the way we've decided to do this simply because we want to be different, AKA we want to be a disruptor. And so what Disruptors do is they look at the market and they try to find the gap that no one is filling. And then you go fill that gap for better or worse. This may be the worst idea ever, or it may be the best idea ever. The thesis though, the behind the curtain thinking of all this is traditional values, new ideas, and massive action. So when Drew and I sat down a few days ago and we had this discussion, we made a decision within 30 minutes and we called every single non-contractor member or messaged them that hour. We took massive action on the new idea because we identified a disruptive gap that we wanted to own. So if you are a contractor, specifically a landscaper, but any trades, really, we definitely focus towards landscaping, and you want to come into the Disruptors, you can now know and trust that it's going to be a contractor-only zone. Enough said. So if you guys support us on that, I hope you do. This is one of the other things. By not taking on sponsors, we're not gaining any revenue. And it does cost money to do this. We host dinners all over. We do Disruptor socials. We do all this kind of thing. And while we will ask for sponsors for these one-off events because we think it's great to get people together, especially at these Disruptor socials, we're going to keep the group contractor only, and we appreciate everybody's support in that, especially the vendors. I had a lot of vendors and software companies reach out over the last couple of days and, just very supportive of the decision. So thank you guys. Also, gosh, I feel like I'm rambling. Sorry, but I really would love if you run a software company or have something really cool that you want to share with the Disruptors. We will be doing a software roundtable at some point where we will invite 8 to 10 software companies to give 10 to 15-minute demos to a group of Disruptors, just a way to share what's out there in terms of tech. So if you have something cool, hit up Drew at jygroup.com. Look, guys, I'm just riffing. I'm not going to edit any of this. I think this is just a conversation. This is what the weekly update's all about. So bear with me on it. Quick update on that whole thing, AI, since we're on the topic. NALP, National Association of Landscape Professionals. Really encourage you guys to get involved if you're in the landscape industry. It's an amazing organization. They have great resources for members. And this November 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and I think 12th is going to be Elevate, their annual conference. This is where the biggest, the most advanced, the most professional companies come to share their secrets, to share what's going on, what's working, how their year went, what the plan is for the next year. You guys need to be here. It's a perfect time to set your budget up and your forecast and your focus and strategic plan for 2027. And on Sunday, November 8th, Sean and I will be hosting an AI experience built for the landscape executive. If you're a leader, VP, executive, CEO of a landscape company, ideally doing more than $5 million in revenue. I will say you need to have security clearance. If you work for a giant landscape company and they have all these firewalls set up, you're probably not going to get a lot out of the workshop. But if you're in that, like, I like to say like $5 to $100 million range, and you can be the disruptor, and you can implement really cool things, make sure to come to this workshop. We're going to be talking about some really on the edge stuff. We're going to be vendor agnostic. Again, this is focused for the contractor because that is our focus here. We literally are doing this to help the community and also help K&D. The show's just got so many segues today. Let's talk about K&D. So basically, I stepped away from my position as CEO in July. And on July 10th, which is exactly 4 weeks ago today, we held a quarterly management planning session. Had about 40 people in the room. From San Luis Obispo, everyone came up. We met and we discussed the vision of the company for the next 10 years, the next 5 years, the next 3 years, and the next 90 days. I did my best to share the vision of that, and Sean shared the vision of AI. That was the beginning, and that was the morning. About 11 a.m., I said, guys, thank you so much. I am out of here. I left the planning session early, and I went on my sabbatical, and I've been on it ever since. After 4 weeks, I've learned a few things. Number one, I had a lot of my identity and what I guess you would call it my fuel, my satisfaction, my self-worth was actually being fed from K&D. Whether it was solving problems, it was reaching out and helping my team grow. It was getting involved with customer issues. It was finalizing some like super cool bid or some deal I was working on. I love making deals. I was getting a lot of satisfaction and a lot of fuel from that. And when that kind of went away, or at least was dramatically reduced, I had to find other resources for that. And that has been a big challenge. And I can't necessarily say in 4 weeks I figured it out, but I've identified it as a gap in my identity. And it's probably a bit of a gap in your identity. We often spend most of our waking hours focused and at least there or thinking about work in some way. When you remove that, you end up having these voids in time that you're like, what do I do? Why am I here? What's my purpose in life? Now, luckily, I've gotten to spend more time with the Disruptors, more time at doing Trade Stock podcasts and interviewing amazing guests, and most importantly, more time at home with my lovely wife. And that's been really enjoyable. I mean, it's been enjoyable. You guys know. It is a lot of work. We're just finishing our kitchen remodel, which we decided to do. We got new carpet. We did all these crazy projects in the last 3 months because, the baby's coming and we wanted to get everything set up. And it's like photo finish, guys. We're barely finishing things up, but we are finishing things up. And that's given me a lot of gratification and a lot of enjoyment and purpose. And I just reflecting on the journey more than anything with you guys, like kind of raw, just sharing what's like going through my head. I've also just had a lot of time to think. And during that process of thinking, I'm realizing just how strong the team is at K&D, just how amazing the people are, and how incredibly powerful every single person is, from the teams in the field to the teams in the office, to our sales teams, to our account managers, to our finance and EST teams. Everybody there is just crushing it. And it doesn't even matter from a statistical standpoint or a key performance indicator standpoint what the outcome is, because I know everybody is giving it their all. Like, I can see it, I can feel it. And as long as we continue to do that, I know for a fact we will be successful. Because most companies, their biggest issue is they obsess over the outcomes and they're constantly changing the inputs to try to get the ideal outcomes. But a lot of times It's just about consistency. So if you're struggling a little bit around your profitability, around your KPIs, look at your stuff, make sure you're doing the right activities. But if you feel and believe you're doing the right activities, just give them enough time to do their job. Give them enough time to show you the results. If you go to the gym for 1 hour a day for 20 days in a row, you're probably going to see results. But if you go to the gym for 10 hours today and 10 hours tomorrow, you're probably not going to get the same results. So intensity doesn't always beat consistency. So remember that. That's something that I'm realizing, and slowing down a bit has given me that, that perspective of some sort. So thought I'd share that with you guys today. But overall, we've got some really cool stuff going on. Oh, last thing I wanted to mention, I don't want to use this as like a giant ad platform or anything, but I do feel like there's people out there searching for their ideal career. And I'd like to say that we have a new career opening at K&D. We are hiring an innovation specialist. We want someone to come in and work with Sean and our innovation team to help us deploy more artificial intelligence, to help us deploy more robotics, and to help us overall increase our innovation. Our goal is to invest 25% of our profits back into the company through innovation, through artificial intelligence, through technology. And for a company that's 25 million in revenue, we're pretty profitable. You can do the math. That's quite a bit of money that we're pouring back in to the industry and to our company. So if that is interesting to you, if you're maybe really passionate about that, but you're stuck at a company that just doesn't see the opportunity in front of them and is restricting your ability to truly innovate, there really is no ceiling here at K&D. Any idea, anything you want to do, we are all for it. Between Sean and John, what they're doing there with innovation and technology, you're going to be in great hands and build an amazing career. So with that, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another weekly update. Stay tuned for some amazing guests coming down the pipe, and I will be back here next Friday to check in and give you guys another update on what's going on in the great world of the trades industry. See ya.